I'm John Schramm, Head of Development here at Kinolime. To my right, your left, is Daniel Murray, aka RCE, aka a Juilliard performing arts student.
Performance art auditioner, apparently.
He decides to wear...
It might look like am I just like a floating head?
He wore a black turtleneck. It's 95 degrees
95
today
yeah,
here in Brooklyn, and with a black backdrop, so go figure. But
yeah, well, I didn't want to wear like gym clothes, you know, or look too beachy.
But what about just like dressing up for the office?
No, I know, but you know, the office where I feel like that's bright.
Okay.
I didn't have available to me today, right?
Okay, it happens.
Yeah.
But you do look good. So
John,
nice.
you look amazing.
I miss black turtleneck days. I used to have a few.
Yeah, and I have like, you know, that picture of like The Rock when he's in high school? Like I could do it, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the bane of all evil, money. No, I'm kidding. It's actually very necessary to make film. And there was some really amazing news that came out yesterday regarding two states, Texas and your home state, California, in regards to the tax incentives. So I don't want to say that Trump's plan is working, but it's interesting to hear that a couple of states now are starting to see the value, or at least because we know Texas put this bill in October, but the fact that
same with Cal, I mean, this has been
sorry, not Texas, California
legislature for like 8 months.
The fact that it's moving forward shows that at least something's happening within the business. I don't even want to say it's about Trump, but the fact is states are coming on board and seeing the value in increasing their tax incentives to bring productions to their state.
Yeah, I mean, I think now there's, maybe it was like last year, but there's something like 38 states and then a whole bunch of U.S. territories that have some level of rebate or incentive program. Yeah, it's like, you know, unfortunately, California should have had a incredibly competitive incentive just to retain their work, you know, a few years ago, but
more than
we'll take what we could get.
It's been a while, and I lived in the great state of California for many years, so I have a you know, an affinity for that state. But it has been portrayed, whether rightfully so or not, that it's a bit of arrogance on California's part to not. And I remember like 15 years ago or 10 years ago when this conversation was being had, a bit of arrogance on the state's part to not try and compete with the Georgias, the Louisianas out there, thinking that people just always want to film in Hollywood because they should, you know, but then they didn't. I mean, we saw industry drop tremendously in LA, people moving out of the state to different, you know, for example, Texas had a big, you know, influx of Los Angeles and California film workers going to the state. Obviously, we know Georgia and Louisiana have been huge for, you know, within the last 20 years in terms of their robust film program incentives. So what are your thoughts on the new plan, and how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you know, it is important to be able to retain, for the film industry at large, I think, Los Angeles as a viable shooting hub, just because that is where the actors live. That is where the cream of the crop when it comes to crew, when it comes to every facet of the business live. You know, it does a lot of the times, like when you look at the actual like data of how incentive programs affect states, great for film workers, but having a state-to-state program where states have to compete with one another and raise incentives, trying to pull workers that, you know, primarily live in Los Angeles to their state to shoot, it ends up kind of being a race to the bottom for a lot of these states.
Sure.
Like most independent studies like show that even when you factor in supplemental business expenditure, like it's like kind of not worth it.
It's a wash. It's a wash.
It's either a wash or not worth it for states.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean shooting isn't worth it, but it means like you can't really cultivate, you know, like you see it everywhere. Like you can't really cultivate like vibrant film film communities like in places that just don't have one. Like LA's been doing it for 100 years, right? Like there are like creative hubs, but for the most part, it's a lot of out-of-state workers coming in and then going back. You're not really cultivating robust programs. And then when your incentive changes, it goes away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great what California's doing. I'm always for tax incentive for films. I would like to see a federal incentive, you know.
And we're gonna get there, but
Yeah.
let's talk about, to me, the best news of this is because there ain't no place like Hollywood. The fact
Yeah.
that there's gonna be now an increase, I think I read to like 4,000, the current 4,000 jobs to like 5,500. We're gonna see 1,500 plus new jobs potentially. Um, we're gonna be filming back to like, and I'm a New Yorker, so it's hard for me to say this, but like the hub of movie making. Like you can't argue that Hollywood is Hollywood. Like this is where movies mostly should be made. You know, you want to see the
Yeah.
palm trees, the backdrops. Like, you want to get the best actors, the best crews, like you said. But it's like filming in Hollywood is something different. When I say Hollywood, I mean Los Angeles proper. But that to me is like the most exciting news. Is that like hopefully now it's going up to $750 million, which is a ton. Man, we're gonna be back filming in LA. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I read it could go up to 40%, which is huge. You know, 'cause
Yeah.
now it's at what, 25?
Yeah, I think it's something
It was
like
always so
35, and then if you shoot in California outside of LA,
It'll go up
like
to
you bump
40.
an extra
Yeah,
5.
it's, I think at 25 now or 20. I forget the percentages, but it's quite low.
It's,
even
yeah, it's not competitive
Not
enough
competitive.
to shoot it.
No.
And yeah, I mean, the great thing about shooting, it's like, I think it was Rob Lowe said something about it recently, which like, you know, I have family that made careers, well, you know, working as crew people and day
Yep.
players. And when you're in LA and when things can shoot in Los Angeles, you get like, there is a, like, every stage of production is very close to each other in a way that doesn't really exist anywhere else, right?
Sure.
Like you're on the lot and
Yes, you know,
the writers are right nearby
best, dude. It's the
and
best.
you shoot it and
It
like
is the best.
yeah, it is it's something I'm not sure if you could even quantify, but like the thing that really is I think the worst part of the industry outside of like the loss of jobs for people just kind of like following tax incentives is you have a collective brain drain, you have like a lack of mentorship, you have a lack of a fostered community where you could actually build, you know, sustainable careers within the industry.
Yep.
Because people aren't, you know, clustered around each other when they do things.
I have a friend who's a very don't want to use a prolific, but a very hardworking and known first AD to like second. You know, he had moved his family to Denver, and then just flies in,
yep.
goes around where he can because LA wasn't working, and you know the cost of living went up. So the fact that now this is all going to bring some dollars in, people are going to be working. This is only upside in California, Texas finally stabilizing a bit of their tax incentive program. Is always wonky. Every year was you didn't know what was going to happen. Now I think they're going to do it as a decade long thing.
Yeah, it's like 1.5 for the.
It's like 150 million for the year now. Yeah, which is great. And I love how Texas has been aggressive. Obviously, like I mentioned, Georgia, Louisiana, New York. You know,
super the best.
People don't know. I mean,
right
probably the best place to shoot right now. As we're getting ready for the wave, we're looking at New York and some of the counties outside of the city, and you can get like sometimes with certain things get 50% of your movie.
It's incredible.
I mean, it's nuts. So New York hopped on that train. So I love seeing these states coming in line. We're going to see some other states. I know Montana. I've been in talks with them for the last several years about what they're going to do with their programs. They want to get people to shoot there. But going to a further point you made, because I've always been interested as someone who's worked in the French film market. You know, we have a project we're doing in Canada that we're learning the Canadian system and how they subsidize their films. I mean, that's always been a topic. I know it's a very hard one to discuss.
Yeah.
But is this a path forward for some future federal subsidy program in cinema?
I mean, I really hope because, you know, pretty much like most other countries, it's this tough thing where right now, you know, states are competing against one another for incentives and then kind of hanging in the balance no matter what is, well, you know, we could just go to Ireland and get a better one anyway. Or
go to Romania.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, you have the same incentive, but we could pay people less over there, right? And then it's, again, it just, I feel like it leads to like competing against the wrong markets, like competing against other states, and then also like racing to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
I think this incentive in LA is great. However, you're gaining a lot of jobs, but the problem is like a lot of these jobs in places that are already film hubs, a lot of these credits are going to places with directors that have the capacity to make the film shoot there anyway, right? Big actors that in big Hollywood shoots that we're going to shoot there no matter what. That isn't really as much of a job gain. That's like that's just a subsidy.
I would disagree. I think that this program is going to, because again, just from being in it and hearing it, no one wants to shoot in LA because there's no reason to financially. Like unless your movie specifically needs it. Why else has all the other hubs have exploded? Because people left LA. So the fact that this can now bring, because no one has what LA has. No one has Hollywood.
Yeah.
I don't care. Canada doesn't have it. Paris, New York, Louisiana, Georgia, Romania. No one has that. So the fact that they're going to be as competitive with, let's say, in New York is insane. Only good's going to come from this.
100%.
But the subsidy part, it's something that I always wrestle with because, again, I love how the French do it where they have a set of funds and those funds go to filmmakers to make their movies every year. It sustains this ability to take some swings.
Yep.
You don't have to rely on box office returns. You don't have to rely on market data. Obviously, that still goes into decision making because they don't want to just write it off. But the fact that they promote the arts, and I think that's something in the U.S. we're sorely lacking, even in Canada, right? They promote the arts.
Yep.
Canada is not a huge film market, but it's got a little bit of a hub, and they're able to make films year after year with their subsidy program, with taxpayer dollars, and take swings on stuff that in this stage of where we are in the film business in the U.S., no one would make.
Yep.
You know? So I personally would love to see more subsidies in the maybe indie side of things. I want to see some swings.
Well, I think like with this new, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, of the new grants that were like, sent out in California, I think there's only like 5 major studio subsidies. Like,
sure,
it's like out of the 48 productions, like 43 are independent features.
Yeah.
Right, which is great.
Yeah. But independent's a tricky word now.
It's a tricky word
because there are an independent movie could go like
they're like $20 million.
No, $30 million. So I don't mean that when I say indie. I mean like I'd love to see 10 and under.
Yeah. With
maybe you only have a credit or 2 to your name, like more. I mean, I don't think you can ostracize people by their past history. But you know what I'm trying to say? Like I want to see some swings. I want to see some art. And if it doesn't work, no biggie. I mean, we spend money on God knows what. We're not going to get into a political discussion on pork and barrel, all that stuff. But the arts, it's just like what kids. I mean, when I lived in LA, I did a lot of talks within schools and to promote screenwriting. And their kids are just thirsty for creative outlets, but they're like, it's not in my path, or like, I got to get a real job, quote unquote. But the fact that, what if the government could provide a path for that? I find that interesting.
You also have to just think about, like, it's why I think a federal incentive, all these new incentives are amazing. A federal incentive is incredible because, again, it allows Los Angeles can be Hollywood, and you can shoot there, and subsidizing film there would not be the same financial burden on the state of California that it is now, right? You could use the infrastructure with way less financial burden, but you could also then like actually foster real film hubs for scale in other places where, like, again, right now it's like you will see, the incentive's amazing in this state, and Netflix or someone will build these massive sound stages and people will move there or they'll shoot stuff there, and then it changes and it's dead.
No, I know that. Yeah.
I would love to see just a blanket incentive. So again, if a movie is shot in Kentucky, you could just shoot it in Kentucky.
It'd be interesting to see now, will this be a domino effect? Are we going to start seeing, tax incentives in, let's say, Alaska? Or are we going to go to...
They probably already have.
They probably already have one. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see because, this is such a huge country with diverse landscapes and terrains and cultures, or subculture. It'd be interesting to see what the other, states go in line with.
Where would you want to shoot the most? There's a place that things are not shot.
Oh, man. I can't think of anything that I would love at the moment. What about you?
I don't know. I mean, it's tough because like, again, a lot of states have these incentives, but they're not competitive,
Yeah.
or they don't have great crews, or there's not really a great reason to shoot there.
Yeah.
I would love. I don't know. It is tough.
I'll say that, like, as a New Yorker, I'm happy that we pushed and made this aggressive play now that we're going to be like,
great.
it's going to be amazing. Like, we're going to shoot so much stuff in New York.
It's gonna be so great.
It's going to be insane.
We were gonna shoot something in Ireland, and then this $800 million incentive came, and then now
Now
this is
we're
what
like
we're talking
seriously
about.
looking at New York. So I love
So
that.
awesome. Yeah.
I just want to see, like, I want to see all states have some aggressive incentives to promote the filmmakers, even in the state, to cultivate and get out. Because not everyone could just move to LA and like learn the ropes. And, it's, I mean, especially with the cost of living now, it's insane. So the fact that these states are falling in line, hopefully this will be the beginning of some amazing other news to make more movies.
Yeah, I would love to see, again, legislators understand that also, like, forgetting just the economic impact of film, like, we are the United States of America. Our biggest export is our culture. If we can't shoot in America, that is a, in some ways, unquantifiable loss, right?
It has been. I think you can
Yeah.
see the effect on the movies over the last 15 years or so.
Yeah.
You can feel that.
If you can't cultivate new filmmakers and film crew workers, we will lose something that is probably our biggest export
Yeah.
to the rest of the world.
That's why I love the studio so much, the Apple TV show. Because,
still-
you have to watch it. It's so funny. Because it's like, it's LA, dude. It's filming in Hollywood. Like, I'm seeing every place I used to go to. And, like, I love that. Like, I'm all for that. So I'm happy. LA, give you a round of applause. California for passing that legislation. Good for you guys. Is it passed? It passed.
I'm not sure if it's fully.
Well, we're there.
Yeah,
we're
like, it's gonna
we're
happen.
there. We're there. We can say
Yeah.
we're gonna say that it's passed. But thank you so much for tuning in and hearing us babble about some fun incentives and subsidies. And I should have got my calculator out. We're in the final 3 of our Kinolime competition, Script 2.0, script to screen competition. So please go out there and vote. Read all 3 screenplays. We're in the final push. 2 weeks left. You're gonna make a movie. Maybe it'll be made in LA or New York or Texas with these new incentive programs. So on behalf of Kinolime, I'm John Schramm.
Danny Murray.
Thank you so much, and let's make a movie together.